How does Microsoft Azure play into product development applications like IoT platforms and simulation and analysis? Let's talk about that next. Okay, so you probably have heard a little bit about Microsoft Azure if you've paid attention to the product development space. PLM and CAD, I'm sure you've seen their presence here and there. And you probably wondered, well, how is this related to that? So let's talk about that in this segment. So first off, let's talk about Azure. So it's a cloud-based platform where you can basically run applications in the cloud using Microsoft infrastructure. So that provides a couple advantages for software developers and for users of the solutions. What's interesting is for the software developers that they can basically, let's back up a little bit. A lot of times the software developers have to figure out what does the infrastructure of running in the cloud look like? How are you going to connect your application to the compute resources that are going to be used? How are you going to run a multi-tenant type of solution? How is it going to be distributed? How is it going to be accessible to everybody maybe around the world, which is part of the advantage that you get with cloud applications? A lot of software providers, solution providers have to figure out or answer those questions on their own. But that's where the appeal of something like Microsoft Azure comes into play. Because they've answered a lot of those questions. They've figured out a lot of that plumbing for those applications. So software developers can kind of build on top of the Azure platform and kind of accelerate the development and delivery of a cloud-based solution. A really good example of this actually is with ThingWorx. So ThingWorx, there's a version of it where it runs on top of Microsoft Azure. And that's interesting for PTC, but the bigger advantage is for the end user. So with the end user, for the manufacturers that are trying to use ThingWorx as an IoT platform, there's all that plumbing they would normally have to figure out. Like, where is it going to be hosted? How is it going to connect to things? What kind of latency is it going to have? And when ThingWorx is running with Azure, all those issues are kind of resolved as part of the solution. So manufacturers can accelerate their adoption of an IoT platform because it's based on Azure. So there's an advantage for manufacturers as well. So there's the software side of things, there's the end user side of things. The commonality there is figuring out what the plumbing looks like, what the infrastructure looks like. There's also an advantage in other types of applications like CAD and simulation and analysis. Having expandable compute resources to maybe explore more options if you're using something like generative design, or to do things faster and get to answers faster. Depending on your circumstance, time or cost may be a more important issue, or fully understanding your design space. So this is another way that Azure helps with that, right? So it's a platform to help those applications have expandable resources. So that is the role that Microsoft Azure kind of plays in the marketplace. More software providers kind of moving their stuff over to that platform can accelerate the development and delivery of cloud platforms, cloud solutions. If you're a manufacturer you're trying to figure out the plumbing of how you're going to connect things from an IoT perspective, it can accelerate that as well. That's it. Take care and talk soon.